And we are here in Uganda.
We are from Kenya.
We are from Botswana.
I am from Lagos, Nigeria.
I am here with my mother.
In this coming Friday,
we will be watching the Woman to Woman program.
And we'd like to invite you
to Woman program.
This coming Friday, be sure to join us at 3 p.m.
We are women. We are brave. Strong, capable, unique. We are woman to woman.
Good afternoon, South Africa. Wonderful Friday to be together because it is the Friday before Mother's Day. And our show today is a special celebration to the mothers. That's why you saw so many invitations of mothers who are watching the show with their daughters. And we hope you will still tag someone that you want us to watch the show today. This is why we have made a question to some of our audience. What lesson could you say you learned from your mother? Let us watch.
Hi everyone, my name is Sidi. I'd like to thank my mom and let her know how much I appreciate her. Everything comes at a cost. This is one of the lessons that I have learned from her. My future is in my hands. It is up to me whether I build it or destroy it. When things don't go right, I should not blame anyone because I decide to have a great future or a destroyed ending.
Hello everyone, my name is Waleta. There are so many great lessons that my mother has taught me, but among these lessons, the fact that I should fight for what I believe in and never give up, even when it gets difficult. My mother is a great example of that because I've seen her fighting for what she believed in, fighting for what she wanted until she got it.
And this is why we have decided to address one topic that is very trendy, but the results are not being achieved. Today, we are going to talk about blended families. And we have invited Pinky all the way from Welcome to be with us here today and share her experience. So before we go ahead and we allow Pinky to talk about her experience, I wanted to give the concept of a blended family. Basically, it is a man and a woman who decided to get married, a couple who decided to get married, and both or one of them have children from previous relationship. So now they might have mine, yours, and ours situation. In some cases, one of the parents bring the children or they have to visit their children from previous relationships. We think it's very simple in a family structure, but the reality is proven otherwise. So before we go on, I would like you to see the account of Donna. Donna grew up in a blended family, and for different reasons in life, she had to have a family of her own of a blended nature. Let's watch Donna.
Hello, my name is Donna, and I would like to share with you my experience of having been part of a blended family, that is, having a stepmom when I was growing up. Actually, I only have good memories of her, of our time together before she passed, because I believe in the beginning she set the tone of how the family will be, because she understood that she wasn't marrying just my dad, she was marrying his children also. So therefore, she assumed her role as a mom and she fulfilled it. She showed us respect, she cared for us, she loved us. She would talk to us if we did something wrong to help us to see that it was not good. She did not enforce her authority upon us or make us to feel that now we have to obey her. Or I never heard her complain to my dad that we are being disrespectful or rude towards her. So I believe that from the beginning, she set the tone of, no, this is now my family, even though I didn't give birth to them, but they are my children. And she treated us as such. She did not override the authority of my dad, or he did not come on her to say, you are treating my children bad or anything like that. It wasn't his children or her children, it was their children. So fast forward to my immediate family. I remarried after my husband died, and I also had to set the tone for Jonathan to understand that now Benson is part of the family. He is his dad. So therefore, he has the right to discipline. He has the right to correct him because he's there to protect him. He's there to guide him and to direct him as he grows up. There were challenges, there were difficulties, but we were able to overcome that. And I believe what impacted their relationship even further and make it to be stronger, and as it is today, is that when they did the IntelliMen challenge, they were able to discover more things about each other and to express themselves with each other and to learn from one another. So I believe that the mom, I had to play my part. I had to help Jonathan to understand that I cannot override the authority of Benson if he sees that what he wants to do is not right, and he has right to pull rank on me. And I don't have the right to say, no, you can't do that with my son, because it's not my son, it's not his son, it is our son. So I believe the moms has a very important role to play because she's the heart of the home. So she is the one that will make the children to see that we are family, that we are together, that we should be united and not take sides. It's the worst thing that can be done. I never saw my stepmom taking side or, taking my brother's sides or taking my side. We were all treated as one, if it was sharing of food or anything like that, we all got equal share. Though we as children will bicker and fight over one thing or the other, but she was fair in her relating and her treatment of each one of us. And I think that's what is important within the family, especially when it's a blended family. Both sides have to have a united front and to make the children to see that we are together, we are all one in this. And that's where you will enjoy being part of it. So I have only good memories of my stepmom, and I am enjoying my family today. So yeah, moms, be the tone setter, to see the family that you want. When you set that tone, you'll be able to make the children to understand. Yes, you will have difficult ones. You will have those that will challenge your authority. But if you challenge them back, you're only setting yourself up for failure. All right. So that's what I would like to share. And until next time, bye-bye.
Now, it is too scary because not everyone achieved the success that Donna has accounted for. It is in the stats that almost 70% of marriages in a blended family come to an end. They end up in divorce. It affects intimacy, it affects financial life, and it affects spiritual life. That's the reason why we are going to explore the do's and don'ts and the preparation that is needed. Because when love knocks at your door, you can't decide, I don't want it. You have to deal and prepare for it. And this is the reason why we have Pinky, because Pinky also formed a blended family. Pinky, share with us your experience.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure for me to have to share my experience of having had to have a blended family. As I got married, being a single mother to a 4-year-old. And for me, it was really about having to adjust to bringing my husband in to the life that was already as if it's a family already, because I had my son before I got married. So it was really difficult for me to take a step back and allow my husband into my life and my son's life. So for quite some time, we really struggled. We really struggled to adjust, because I was the one who was making a lot of taking decisions of what my son was where my son was going to go to school, what he had to have. So to have my husband having to lead us, it was really difficult. And it took a lot of experiences and, downfalls and a lot of friction until we were able to get to the right space where I can say that we felt like any other normal family.
And Pinky, we saw your testimony before. And today you can safely say that they are so bond like father and son that you don't have division in your family. But your difficulty was in the fact that you didn't understand something called co-parenting, right?
That is true, Mrs. Masha. It was difficult for me to let go of parenting Gwanda on my own. It was really difficult because my husband would say something and I would always think I am the one who had to take that decision. I am the one who had to decide on the life of Gwanda. But with the experiences that I find myself in, I understood that for me to have a successful family, I really had to have that humility of saying, now let me allow my husband to lead us so that we can have a successful family. And it starts with being intentional about it. It starts with understanding that a family must have, a family structure has to have a father, a mother, and children, and understanding the role of each and every one of us in the process. So when I realized that I was taking over, actually, I would like to share that it was a certain experience where we had to decide on something. And I remember that it was my son was asking about an activity that he had to participate in at school. And knowing that I was the one who always gave the permission, he was looking at me instead of looking at us, myself and my husband. And at that moment, it came to my attention that, okay, it means that Gwanda doesn't acknowledge my husband as the one who needs to authorize whatever he's asking. He's looking at me because I have been the one who is taking the lead. So on that day, I remember thinking to myself that what am I teaching my son? And there was this voice in me that what is it that I am doing? Am I not what kind of principle am I installing in my son? Because he will never be able to see my husband as the head of the house. Because I saw in his face when he was asking that he was not considering my husband. He was just looking at me because of how I have been behaving, because of how I conducted everything in the family. So on that day, I noticed that I am teaching my son, in a wrong principles. I'm not teaching him according to how I would want to preach to him. Because if I tell him that a man is the head of the family, he will never understand that, because he sees me being the one who is leading in the house. So from that day on, I made it a point that whatever he asked, I would tell him that, okay, let's ask your dad. Let us find out if your dad is okay with it. And what I liked in the process, Mrs. Masha, is the fact that my husband was really patient with the whole process, because he was not pushing himself into taking those decisions or, making a big issue out of the fact that I was making decisions. He allowed me to make those decisions until it came to my understanding that I was on the wrong. That's when he he was able to take the lead. So what I understand is that it is important to be patient and to be as well consistent in showing that I want to participate and I'm going to give, I mean, for the parent who is not the biological parent, it is important to be consistent to show that I really want to be part of this, and I am going to be patient with the process until we get to the point where we can all be together and have the same understanding and live, as a family, a strong a family that is bonded. And this is what happened in my family, because with time it was difficult for me, I mean, for someone who's outside of our family to even know that we are a blended family, because of the way that we used to live. It was people would only know when I tell them that my son is not my husband's biological child.
And you must agree, Pinky, if you haven't come to that point of understanding that you needed to treat him as our son, so to say, your husband's and yours, your marriage could have turned into a very delicate situation. So at the end of the day, we understand when couples from blended families, they end up filing from divorce. One of the aspects that we want to highlight is exactly co-parenting. And is one of the matters that are leading many to have their marriages destroyed. You said you had this, because believe me, funny enough, Pinky is giving her account. I also experienced blended family, Precious and Silmara. So we are not talking about what we read or researched. We're talking about our own experiences.
I come also from a blended family. So before my dad met my mom, he was with someone else and the relationship didn't work out. So when they both moved from Kimberley to Johannesburg, that's where they met, and then they started their relationship and got married, and I was conceived. But I remember from the very beginning, I always was made aware that I have a brother. Although he lived in Kimberley and I was in Johannesburg because my parents were here because of work and their careers, I always knew that my brother also has a mom, but I never...
So where were you born?
So I was born here in Kagiso, in Johannesburg, in Kagiso, but both my parents are from Kimberley. Mm-hmm. So my late brother was in Kimberley. So because he was already in school and everything, they didn't want to just interrupt everything and bring him this side. But I remember growing up and seeing my mom and his mom almost being like friends and sisters. So if there would be a problem with my brother in Kimberley, she would be able to call my mom and inform my mom, like, okay, he's doing this and this and this and this. And whenever I would get up to something, my mom would not be afraid of calling her and telling her. And there would be moments where I would be put on the phone to listen to her actually disciplining me on the phone. So even when I would visit Kimberley, when I go see my grandparents and stuff, I would always go to my...
So if you would do something wrong, mm-hmm. and you were at the house of your by then stepmom, mm-hmm. or auntie, mm-hmm. she would discipline you.
She had all rights.
And like, no grudges from your mom?
No grudges from my mom. She would actually call my mom and say, listen, she did this and this and this, and this is what I did. And my mom would be like, oh, maybe you're more lenient. But when she comes back this side, I will reinforce the discipline that you set. So it wasn't that thing that... she would be just lenient or tippy-toe around me. No, when I would be wrong, I would be wrong. And the same with my brother as well. There'd be moments where he would come to Johannesburg when he was now older and he was in the military. Whenever there was a big situation that he caused that was dramatic for the family, and his mom sent him directly here to come and be with us in Johannesburg. And he had to be disciplined by my mom. So there was never this thing of your mom, my mom, or your mom can't discipline me, mine can't discipline me. It was all just fair ground. And when I would go visit his house, I would be treated the same because she also had her own daughter. So I saw her as my sister. So there was never that thing of... She also would come and visit us in Johannesburg when she comes with my brother. And she would also get disciplined. So there was never that thing of the step parent or the auntie being afraid of correcting the other one's child, because they brought us up in knowing that they are our parents. So there's no difference. So there's no, this house has these rules, that house has those rules. If there's a problem, everybody knows about it. And what was funny was that even if I would do something this side, my mom wouldn't be shy to call her and say, just to let you know, this is what she did. And this is how we dealt with her.
And this is one of the reasons why marriages don't work, because they get married and in the beginning, without the realization that Pinky had, it's my child. But the concept of marriage and family is unity. We take its base from God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, three in one in perfect harmony. And that is the concept of God for families. It might happen on the way that your initial relationship did not work. And now you entered in a second relationship and kids came together. But you can't say, because she is my child, you, my husband, cannot discipline her. So it's very unfair because you stay together, he covers the bills, but he cannot be a father. Or he says to you, I have my children with other marriage, but you are always going to be my wife and not their mother. So when they come, they sense that division. They sense that really there is a split decision between husband and wife. And children learn to take advantage of it. You didn't take advantage, your siblings didn't take advantage because they knew it was unity.
Yes, there was no way, because you knew that you can't even twist the story. By the time you arrive to tell your version, the other one is already updated. They know. So even with school, when I do something in school, I remember when I failed my grade 10, my brother's mom was the one that called me and told me, like, you're a disappointment. We're upset with you. You're wasting money and all of that. But I was thinking, if they were not that united in that force of parenting, then I would have easily told her, but you're not my mom. You can't say this or that or that. But then she was actively involved as if she was my second mom. And I remember one thing my mom would always say was, if something happens to me, you need to know that she will step in. So it was that ground, like they were that united, that I never looked at her or could even take advantage of either of their situations.
And that escalates to the other issue we have that contributes to blended families not work. It's the attention that parents from this relationship, from the other relationship, and from that, they give to their kids.
Yes, and it's something that, as it was said, that it's important to, when you have that family now, to understand that things will change. Like Miss Pinky had to understand that there will be, there had to be a moment now that it's not only about her as a parent or as the mother, but there is a father. But now when it comes to kids as well, the parents has to understand that with the kids as well, they have to help them understand that something is different, something has changed. Because take, for example, a single parent or a single mother that has one child. So this young, if it's a boy or girl, she grows up knowing that I am the center of attraction or center of attention. Everything that I want, my mother gives to me. Everything that I need, my mother gives to me. So everything revolves around me. I am the most important. Whatever that I ask, there's never no, but we need to do for your brother, or you need to do for your sister, or things like that. But now when there is a moment where that single mother now gets married, and maybe the husband now has family or kids coming from the previous relationship, now the parent has to understand that that child has to be helped to understand that now you have siblings and we are going to divide attention. So it's no longer going to be all about you. It's not going to be all about, everything you need. There will be adjustments that we need to do. There will be things that you can't really get every time you need, because now there's somebody else. But then sometimes the parents, they make the mistake of just, taking that family and putting it together and thinking it's going to work. And then you find that now the kids are in the family, or the siblings, now they have challenges, because it's that feeling that my mother is not giving me attention. But they are taking this of me, they are taking that of me. Because you can imagine, if you grew up in a situation where you are alone,
your bedroom was it was your own bedroom, you were alone, but maybe now you start sharing and you're not comfortable with that. But if your mother gave themselves a chance to sit you down and make you understand, okay, dear, this is
Things are going to be now. You're going to share, you have a brother, you have a sister.
I remember there was one case as well of one young lady that her mother got married when she was older, and all of a sudden now she had
siblings, and then she has a father because her mother was a single mom. And for her, it was a challenge because she said, it was difficult for me to understand why now I have to share everything. Why, when I ask my mother something, she keeps on saying, no, I can't give to you because I used to get everything, because she didn't understand now. Okay, it's, as we are saying, it's not, your father's kids and I am my mother's child. So when it comes to what I need, it's about me. It's not about others. But if they come to
make them understand that there will be divided attention, and even with going out or spending time with them, you have to make them understand that we'll spend time together as a family, we'll go out. But as well, I believe that it's very important for that mother that had they only had one daughter, to understand how sensitive it's going to be, and always reassure their child that it's okay, you'll get used to it. I know that I might not be there for you
all the time, but you have to understand there are other ones, and be okay to have some time with them, and also have
relationship with others as well. Because sometimes now, because of that worry, you give only your child attention. You forget that now it's your children, because now the other ones will feel like, no, but she's always with her daughter and all that. So that attention has to be divided fairly, and everything. Kids and siblings have to be made to understand that they will be sharing of attention.
And the lack of wisdom on sharing attention leads to another problem. And this problem may cause a disruption in the family and in marriage. And it is called siblings rivalry. And Silmara lived it quite well in her blended family.
Yes, it is hard. I'm going to talk about the perspective of a child, because my mother never hid it from me that my father passed away, and now this is your new father. However, being small, to be accommodated in his family, it was a bit difficult, because
they tried to embrace you, his family.
Yes, they tried to treat me as if nothing's happened. You are part of us. However, I would see myself different, even physically speaking. I remember I would visit grandmother and the grandfather, and they were so different. The way they would do things in the house, and my mother would always be there trying to back me up. No, but it's just a new way of doing that. And I would see the siblings, how so blended they were, because they lived in that family, and now I had to start to blend myself there. And I would see I was the tallest one, and I would always go back. Is that child who would always hold the skirt of the mother, like, I know you, I know well, but the others, and they were friendly, Shane. They were trying. They would call me. They would try to treat me all the same. But sometimes the other kids as well would felt strange, because okay, now she's coming, and who is she? And I was trying to be there to accommodate myself. They were pushing. But something that helped me is that my mom would back me up all the time. And my stepfather would try also to see, like, in front of everyone, he would be well, like, he would treat everyone well. This thing of violence, it was just inside of our house. But there in the family, he would be my father. And my mother was there trying, but I would clearly see there is a difference. So my mom would be there. No, Silmar, you need to understand, even though you are not born with the details and physically speaking, you don't look like them, but now they embraced you. Is that story? You are born in their heart. That's what the moms, they say normally. You are not born from like biologically speaking, but in his heart, you were born. And I was trying to cope. But in the perspective of a child, it's hard.
But now tell me, what happened when your sister came along?
It was for a child, it's hard to understand. Today, we clearly understand it's part of life. But for a child, I would look, but why her nose is like their nose? Because they were really so much different. They came from another province.
So the way they would do the food they would eat, it was completely different. And my mom would try, no, you can't say you don't like. So just a taste. But I would see it was so different that as a child, I said, I don't want to go. And
Sometimes my mom would respect, like give time. Okay, you don't want to go to your
stepfather's family now. Okay, I will send you to this place and we go. But you need to push yourself, Silmara. They are our family.
What would you feel when you would arrive with your sister and they would prefer her or treat her better, or even when your stepfather diverted his attention from you to your sister?
I don't know from where I came from because I don't belong to this family. Even though my mom was trying and she would show me pictures of my dad. I remember by the age of 7, I pushed my mom to take me to my father's biological family. I told her because the way my grandparents from my stepfather would treat my sister, I would felt the difference. And my mom said, no, you have the family of your father, but they were far from, since my father passed away. So I was 5 years. And I pushed her. I want to know my family from where I come
Were
from.
you jealous of your sister?
I was.
What did you do? Anything to her? Words?
I tried to cancel her. I would be always pushing to be the best. I would excel. It was a competition, actually, because I wanted.
You were competing for attention.
Yes, I wanted to compete. And I remember when my mom said, but Silmara, it's long time that I don't know where your family is, like from your father. I don't know. And she said, let's visit the house where I left one day. And probably they are there. And we went there. I felt like I belong because they would look like me.
Yeah.
And from that moment, it was a hard work for my mom now to accommodate, because when they would say, let's go to your stepfather family. No, I don't want to go.
I want to go to my family.
I want to go to my family. And my mom, but we are your family. And I could see she was trying like to not displease my stepfather, but my stepfather started to get disappointed because we grew up here with this girl and now what is it? So it was that animosity, like what's going on here? And my mom were trying, but it took time for me to deal and understand that, okay, instead of only one grandfather, I have two. And in aunties, they are a lot. And even though this one looks shorter than me, but she's also part of it was a confusion. In the mind of a child, it was a confusion. And sometimes the parents, they don't understand. They just introduce someone and now you need to accept this is your father. And you look and say, but my father, from where he comes from? And this is your whole family. And everyone, it's like a picture. It's a frame picture. But you are not there in that picture. No, this is your family. I said, okay, but where am I here? No, and you put a next frame picture next to it and say, no, now we are together. So for the child, it's hard. It's really hard. So the envy that I would have towards my sister, why she has her father and I don't have.
Especially because he changed the way he would treat you in relation to her.
So it was hard. It was complicated. Even though my mother would try to back up me, but I had to face it, and she had to have patience. And the family actually, Shame, they were trying as well. But for them was something new. They didn't know anything about me. They didn't know what I like. They didn't know. It's not that you accompany that child since a small age. No, you arrive and now, okay, we love her because she comes with you, but we need to learn how she behaves and all that. So it was a difficult moment.
It's one point you need to understand the mind of the children. But I wanted to talk about another very delicate point, that is the influence of the ex-parents. And I think is one of the reasons that is disrupting and consuming
marriages and blended families the most. Because now what you do, you are blended into a new family. You might even be taking care of the child of your husband, but that child also needs to visit his mother. And all of a sudden, it starts that tug of war. And why I asked it to talk about that? Because I was exactly that child that was in the midst of the tug of war between my mom and my father, and later on, my father's wife, who's my stepmother today, whom we have 2 daughters, and from my mom, I have 1 brother. So you can imagine, I was alone of a single mother and a single father who would live single and give attention to me. Then my father decided to get married, not to remarry because they were not married, to get married, and of course to give attention to his new wife. And with her, he had 2 daughters. My sisters are grown up, they have kids of their own, imagine. And then my mother decided to get married and to have my brother, who's also grown up and a father. So you can imagine. Now I was in the middle. And my mom was, for some time, jealous of my father having a new wife. And of course, the wife of my father respected the fact that he had a daughter. She loved me as she loves me to this date. But there were some boundaries that needed to be taken into place. And me, that girl, was in the middle and not even staying with my mother, being brought up by my grandparents. So my mother would seize every opportunity to influence me against the marriage of my father. And my father would, to a certain extent, not accept the fact that now I also had a brother. The influence of the ex-partner is relevant. And it creates a battlefield inside your house. So you need to prepare for that part and to establish rules. Because honestly speaking, what happened with Donna and what will happen with Precious is very rare. And it's beautiful if we can achieve that status. But there will always be the sour part of the relationship or the sour part of that marriage that was destroyed, who will try to push and say, if you want to see your son, you come to my house and you come alone. I don't want to see your wife. My mother would be very upset when on a day off that I would see my father on a Saturday, he would park the car in front of our house and his wife was in the car. But what else could he do? He was married. And that was very sour for her. And she would always say, you never accept any correction or any guidance from her. And my stepmother, she wanted to help me, to teach me things. But of course, she would always say, but I don't know if it sits well with your mom because your mom is jealous. And I became in the middle of that battle zone. And of course, with time, it all went well. They would even talk. But in many families, it doesn't happen like that. And because the rules are not set and these matters are not addressed offhand, the child or children, they become the intermediary of the frustrations or disappointments of their parents. And now, instead of finding a bigger family as you had, they now dread the fact that they have a mom or a father, a stepmother, a stepfather, and they give themselves to the friends, to addiction, to bad influence, because inside their home, they don't find the unity that a family is meant to bring. By the way, this is the reason that many children go revolted, because at the time of separation, they just lie to their children about what went wrong.
Yes, and this is very important, especially when you know that you're about to get into another relationship, which will eventually lead to a marriage. They need to sit their children down, no matter how young they are. Of course, if they are really young, they won't really go deep into details. They will do that when they are older, but they need to explain what happened between the parents, because we see how many kids nowadays, they blame the new wife. You see, like, she destroyed my parents' marriage. She came into the picture and now the marriage is destroyed. And you find that it's not like that. The relationship was not working from the onset, and they were never honest with the child. So now the child starts to create a story. Is it me? Is it her? Is it the kids? Did they have an affair? So it's quite a lot of things that the child has to process. But when you are honest with the child, like, look, your mom and I didn't work out, or your dad and I didn't work out, and it's not your fault. These things happen to adults as well. But don't worry, your father loves you. He cares for you. He's still your father. Then you are going to have, I'm going to marry somebody else, but that doesn't mean that your relationship with your father has to end. So you need to keep reassuring the child over and over again that the relationship didn't work out and it's nobody's fault. It happens. It's nobody's fault. So the child can be at ease and understand that maybe if they were together, they stayed together for my sake, it would be even worse than them separating. So they need to work very well with the child in explaining in detail and step by step, slowly, what happened and reassuring.
Pinky, I know for some time you didn't have that situation because you didn't have contact with the father of your son. But it came to a point that they had to meet. How did you bring him up? What would you say about the father?
In my case, Mrs. Masha, when I got married, the biological father of my son was not in the picture for a long time. And it came a time where myself and my husband had to sit down with my son and explain to him that my husband is actually not the biological father. And we did this because we wanted him to understand, to have an understanding, and again, not to hear from other people, because we didn't know how it will affect him. So we wanted him to understand as time is staying, and also reassure him that he has the father that loves him. And I think that gave him that assurance and made him feel comfortable that he has parents that cares for him, that loves him. And so with time, I think it's natural that a child would want to know where he comes from. Because when he turned 17, I think 16 or 17, that's when he started to have questions to ask Mom. He asked me, Mom, who exactly is my biological father? I would like to meet him. And in that time, I remember when I discussed it with my husband, it was more like, it was a bit difficult, but I remember that, with good communication, when we as parents, we communicate well, we get to reason and understand and see, to see things at the from the, with the best interest for the child. So what we understood is that let's open up about this and show and give him the freedom to meet his father. And we did. But because of the background and the way that we raised him, he met his father, his biological father. But if I may say, home for him was with me and my husband. Though he was able to meet his biological father, for a while it was more like an exciting thing for him. But with time, we got to understand that the bond was even more stronger with the one who raised him. He has a relationship until now with his biological father, but it's something that I cannot even compare with what he has with my husband, who who raised him.
And I wanted you to talk about that
because some of our audience think if it didn't happen now, I will not have to deal with that later. The fact is, it took to you about 14 years until he met his biological father. I want you to say, from the perspective of a mother, mostly on behalf of your husband as the father who was bringing him up, what were the feelings when now you are not at the door and saying, Mom, I'm going to meet my biological father? How do you as a mother and your husband as the present father felt at that moment?
I must be honest, Mrs. Masha, I was not happy about it. I wasn't, because I thought now when he had to bring someone else in this family that we thought, we were happy, we were close knitted, now to bring someone else might bring some friction in the family. I remember I even shared that with you because I was really uncomfortable with it, thinking now I'm going to lose my son. And this is what my husband as well was thinking. When we spoke about it, he was really not happy with the fact that Wanda wants to meet his biological father. But then we started to think about, from his point of view, we started to think about how he is feeling at this moment, how, this curiosity that he has. So that's what made us think, let us just let him go experience, have, know him, meet him, and we will see from then. And actually, we just prayed about it, that, and especially my husband, because we didn't really want to lose him, to another life that we didn't know how it was. It was really an uncomfortable situation. It was really uncomfortable.
But you had to let him go.
It is very important for parents to let go. And again, it's important for them to tell the truth, to let their children know about the truth of where they came from. Because many parents, they suffer. They make the relationship that they have with their children, they put their relationship that they have with their children in doom, because their children find out from other people that they were maybe one of the parent is not the biological parent. And this really devastates the children. So I think it's important for parents to sit down and explain to the children, even if the child didn't know, say the child was very young, she didn't know what really happened. Like in the case of Wanda was only 4 years old, and he didn't understand, this thing about biological parent, biological dad, and the dad that raised him. So he didn't even know this. But we, thinking about right now, I remember in my mind thinking, I have to sit down with him. He needs to know the truth, because he cannot hear it from somewhere else. He needs to hear it from us as his parents.
And what I was adding on to that is, it is conflicting,
but it's necessary, because the relationship didn't work. But that does not change the fact that he is Wanda's biological father. And many times when a relationship doesn't work,
it's more or less like those kids don't work. So you try to bring them to another reality, and you hope they will forget the father, the mother. But as a child, they will never, especially when there is a divorce and a split of a couple, and they know who the mother or the father is.
Now you have a new wife or a new husband. He takes care of me, but I have a father, I have a mother. And this is what causes friction. Some couples, blended families, they want somehow the kids to forget or to despise either the mother or the father. And they don't come into agreement with visiting plans, with holidays, time to spend together. Even though it was hard on you and on your husband, you knew it was necessary because it was the right of the father and the right of Kwanda to know each other. But because you established a bond in your family, yes, he is part of your son's life, but somehow the father figure is your husband.
True.
Pinky, any other challenge that you see in blended families that we possibly did not mention here?
No, Miss Masha is exactly like what Silmara was saying, and about the fact that the children themselves, they don't feel, they're the ones who might not feel like they really belong. I've seen this in many instances, especially as we speak to people who are coming to the church, and when you speak to the young ones who would come and they would explain how their parents at times they feel they are so possessive of them in a way that they do not allow them to have a relationship with their biological parents. And in a case like the one like Silmara was mentioning right now, the fact that she didn't feel like she belongs, she didn't feel like she has she didn't see herself looking like everyone else. I think that it's in the parents' power to always have that eye to notice that the child is really is not comfortable, and not just move on with their lives and feel like no, the child will come along in time. He will come along. If the parents themselves, they have good communication and they are able to work with themselves, they can be able to make the child feel comfortable and always reassure about the child about the love that they have, for him or for her. I think communication plays a major part to communicate with the children. I noticed that in our African homes, most of the times it's like children, they are never considered in when a relationship is being formed. It's more like they just have to trail along. They will understand with time, as long as we just moving on, building this family. But then we have to understand that now we are not just, it's not just the two of us. There's someone else who has feelings, who has emotions. As much as we love each other, let us see to it that we bring the child closer, so that the child will also blend, and will not just let the child do the work by themselves. I've noticed that the parents, they do this. They let the children do the work by themselves and never consider children, as if, no, they will trail along. And of course, I do know that it is important for us to focus, especially in a blended family, it's important to focus on our marriage, on the fact that, marriage has to be strong. But at the same time, let us not leave children behind for them to just trail and follow. Let us bring them and consider their interest as well.
Because at the end of the day, they are souls. Just after our break, we are going to tell you the do's of a blended family. Maybe you are preparing yourself to enter into a marriage that brings together children from past relationships. Maybe you are already married and it's not working. So we are going to explore the do's so that you can achieve the success that Pinky, Donna, Precious has achieved. Okay? But before we go, Let us hear another account of lessons learned from my mother.
Hello, everyone. My name is Denise, and today I would like to speak to you about a special woman, my mum. She came from Uganda to the United Kingdom to start a better life. My whole life, it was just me and her, and she taught me many valuable lessons. My mother was someone that was very innovative. Growing up, we didn't have that much financially speaking, but I never felt it because she used to always make a way. So for others that would go out to restaurants quite often, or even go to the salons to do their hair and different treatments, I wouldn't go so often. We used to do these things at home. My house became like a salon. We would spend a day to do hair treatments. She would teach me how to do them, the importance of doing these things. She would also teach me how to plait my own hair, whereas we couldn't go to restaurants. She used to be so creative with the food that she would prepare, and I would be so excited the way things were in our house. Today, I'm so thankful because I am able to learn from these teachings to deal with situations where I have little, and when I have a little more, how to deal with things, and also how to save.
Hello everyone, my name is Imelda, and I'd like to share with you some of the life lessons that I learned from my mother. Firstly, she taught me through her character to be a true helper. She was always there to give of herself, to love, to care, and to make the house a home for us and my father. Every single day, she would respect him, and not for once did I ever see my father complain about anything that she ever did. Until this day, I carry that example onto my own marriage. Another example that I learned from her was to give. Everyone who knows her treats her like a mother. She's a mother to everyone because every single day she gives of herself. She's always a servant to every single person around her, even those that she doesn't even know. And I, for one, carry that onto my own life. Another example was the strength that she has. Because after my father passed away, yes, it was painful for her, but to us, she showed strength. She took on to the responsibility of providing for us, and not for once did we ever lack anything. And above all, she taught me through faith to learn how to be a servant. She is the one that taught me and brought me to my spiritual mother, the Universal Church.
Mothers taking babies to a faraway land and show them how Jesus is so brilliant and grand. And we all learn to find Him in strange eyes and other tongues. And no matter where we were, we always knew we were home because of you. Oh, Mama, 'cause of you. He gave His birth, He gave His life, and He gave His powdered milk. And some days you were hard as nails, and other days soft as silk. And sometimes it hurt you deep inside, not knowing why. But we never meant to make you cry. Oh, we never And it's time for you and Daddy to enjoy your time alone. But a part of you is now in every little one's life. And the joy you gave to us will now shine on in their eyes. It's 'cause of you, oh Mama, 'cause of you. Mothers, take your babies to a faraway land and show them how Jesus is so brilliant and grand. And we are going to find him in strange eyes and other tongues. And no matter where we were, we always knew we were home because of you. Oh, Mama, 'cause of you. Oh, we love you. Oh, Mama, we love
And we are back because we like to explore the problems and the challenges, but what I like the most is to find solutions. And we want to help you with some tips on how to make your blended family a success. One tip.
Okay, the first thing that you need to do is to plan. So when you see that the marriage or the relationship will lead to marriage, because now kids will be involved, the couple needs to sit down and plan about everything from parenting to finances to visitations, everything. And I remember how many people, they always like to say, oh, I have baby mama or daddy mama drama. You have to understand that one has to be an adult. You have to be adults. Some exes might not be as understanding, but if you are adults and you understand that now kids are involved, you will be able to have a proper blended family.
When it comes to making decisions of the choices of the kids, what they need to do and everything, it came to work out when they decided to do the parenting together, the decision together, not one parent only responsible for that. And the definition as well of roles, as Ms. Pinky was saying, that the child has to understand, if the father is the stepfather, he has to understand that the mother is not the leader of the house, the father is. So all that has to be important. The discipline as well is very important to do it together, because if you don't do it together, they will always take advantage of one of the parents, like Precious was saying. So it's very good to do the parenting together.
My tip would be to build the unity before marriage, and that is introducing maybe the children before you get married. So let your partner, as Tammy mentioned earlier, when you see it's getting serious, so part of the planning is now the families meeting. So the aunts, the uncles that child has from the side of the mom before that, you now have to bring them into the picture for them to know, and allow that partner to have their alone time as well with the child, because it gives that child that like that confidence that, you know what, even though other kids might come later, but I have a place in this person's life. So building that united front before marriage also really helps them a lot.
And be connected with your spouse. There are discussions that should not be done in front of the kids. So you discuss, and when you go to talk to them, you both have the same level and you are directing to the same thing. You are leading that family all to the same direction.
And I would suggest you to look into the spiritual side. You can do all right, but if you don't make a partnership with God, you're not going to have the strength. So there are 3 key points that are very relevant. First of all the challenges that you have, lead to God in prayer first. Present it to God. Even when you are frustrated, tell God, I'm frustrated with this. And God will help you to see it through in light with taking into account your husband's position, the ex-partner's position, the children's position. Try to resolve everything in light of the word of God, not necessarily what you want, But what does the Word of God says about this? And the third one might be difficult, but very effective. Pray. Pray for your partner, for your husband, for your wife. Pray for the kids. Pray for the challenges. But don't forget to pray for the ex-partners. If you bless them, God will make a way. It is possible. It can be hard work, but it is possible.
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 2 to 3. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace.
When you put yourself to practice the Word of God, when you are humble, when you seek for the greater good of the family, and when you have the Spirit of God, it is not impossible to bring unity. We shared with you some examples from Christians. And if Precious family, Donna's family, Pinky's family made it through, it's because the Word of God was their ground rule. And in the Word of God, sometimes it means you will need to let go. You will need to sacrifice, and all in the name of love. But if the Spirit of God is in you, the Spirit of unity is in you, and you are going to be able to accommodate the needs of the children, the needs of the ex-parents, and still your marriage will grow stronger and the kids will be healthy physically and spiritually. Meditate upon Ephesians 2. That is the key that God is giving to you and to me, not only in blended families, but in any situation.
Lord, I thank you for the program of today. We take this opportunity now to remember all the blended families of your people who are watching this program now. I pray that they may thrive regardless the situation that they are facing, in hardship, in difficulties, in all the challenges that they go through. May they flourish, Lord. May they overcome all those problems. May you bind up every spirit that brings confusion in their life, that brings misunderstanding that results in them being bitter, having hard feelings towards each other, that can even lead to separation and divorce. Lord, I pray that you protect them against this spirit and let them be able to be united, to come together and glorify you with their lives. In the same breath, Lord, I pray for all the mothers. We are in a weekend where we are going to be celebrating Mother's Day. And I pray that you bless all the mothers, a mother who has given birth biologically or a mother who has given birth spiritually. Lord, you have given them the responsibility of nurturing the growth of the people that you have placed under their responsibility. So I ask in this moment that you may give them the strength to fulfill that purpose of their life. Give them that strength, my Lord. May you not allow them to find themselves being depressed, being stressed out, losing their peace, losing their patience. Give them the strength, Lord, to look forward into carrying out this responsibility with your grace, with your power in them. I ask, my Father, may you bless all the mothers. May they have the peace and the joy and the happiness that they wish to have. Bless them in a way that only you, Father, can do. I ask in this moment, in Jesus' name, amen.
If each one of us would have to say something we learned from our mothers, we would say, of course, and even myself, my mom is already gone. She's with Jesus, and I had precious lessons. But we know that in our journey, there was a mother who taught us many things. And this spiritual mother taught me to be a wife, to be a daughter, to be a servant. This spiritual mother taught me to be resilient, something I was never. And I wanted to share with you the testimony of someone whose mother passed away when she was very young. And all that she learned this far was from our spiritual mother, the church. So we bless the church in this Sunday. And finishing our program of today, you are going to stay with the account of Sini on all the lessons she learned from this spiritual mother. Next week, we are going to be back and we are going to ask, whose life is it anyways? Carrying on with this perspective of mothers and fathers, living vicariously through someone else. This is the topic of last week. But for now, let us dwell and celebrate our spiritual mother, the church. God bless you all, and bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Sineli Siwe Gumle. I lost my mother at the age of 11. It was the lowest point in my life because she was the only active parent I had at that moment. So losing her for me was like a part of me was taken away. But even though I learned from her how to trust in God, I learned from her, she introduced me to God in a way. Because if it was not for her, I wouldn't know about the church. Which then, when she left, this was the gift that she left me. She left me a gift to hold on to. The church nurtured me and taught me to be the person that I am today. After many years of suffering and hardship, I did not lose my faith because, as I said, it was the gift that she left for me. And in turn, I learned a lot of things being in the church. What helped me as a teenager, not having a mother, was the teachings that I would get in the church. The teachings of how I should understand the plan of God for my life, how I should have value for my life, and not only see the loss of my mother as the end of my life. What I can say is that today, I have learned to be a strong woman. I learned to be a woman of faith, to allow God to mold my life, to allow God to lead the steps of my life. And I am happy. Looking back now, I understand that God allowed that to happen because He had a plan. Though in that moment I was down, I was depressed, I didn't see the sense of being alive. I was able to overcome all the doubts, all the fears of life that I had. So today, I'm a woman of God. Today, I am married to a man of God and we serve God together. And I thank God for every obstacle, every challenge that He has placed in my life, because with that, He also gave me tools to overcome. I thank you.
Hey Larato. Oh wait, sorry Tando. That's your mom's name. Kate, wow, look at... Hold up. Wrong person. Whose life is it anyway? Who are you going to become? A version of you or themselves? Find out this Friday at 3 p.m.